everyone, and welcome to our latest stream. As we discussed the last time, September is Suicide Prevention Month, and Nicole Jones is here, and we're going to talk about a very important subject today. She is one of our suicide prevention coordinators, and our topic today is removing lethal means. So, Nicole is going to tell us exactly what that means. Welcome, Nicole, and thank you for being here. Can you
Thank you for
discuss?
having me.
Yeah, how about what does it mean to remove lethal means?
So, one of the things that we try to communicate when talking about suicide prevention is thoughts of suicide can come and go, but access to lethal means is really the difference between someone attempting suicide or managing those thoughts and being able to make it through the crisis. And so, we really want families to know that it's important to have a discussion about lethal means. What things in the home or in the environment can be used in a suicide attempt. And part of the education that we provide is how to talk about those things and then make a plan of action in an effort to keep distance and time between those methods that can be used to harm oneself and the thoughts of suicide.
So, what are lethal means?
So lethal means could be anything, someone could say that they've had thoughts of running off the road with their vehicle. And so you want to talk about when is it an appropriate time for someone to have access to their keys? If they're thinking about harming themselves with the use of their motor vehicle, it might be important as part of their plan of action to not have access to those keys for a short period of time, temporarily, until they are feeling safe. Some folks who maybe they take opiate pain medication for a pain related issue, or maybe they have a real, like maybe they have cancer. And so that medication can be potentially fatal. And so if they're having thoughts of suicide, it might not be a good idea for them to have full access to those pain medications. And this is really something we know is important for families to discuss as a unit. It's important that the person be able to work with their family to think of a plan. Maybe in regards to pills, we're talking about pills. So if someone was having thoughts of taking more of those pills in an effort to die by suicide, it might be important for the family member to use just a small pill box and have 1 day supply in the pill box, but lock up the other medications so that that individual who's impulsively thinking about self-harm will not have access temporarily to all of those pills, because it may be an increased risk to have access to lethal means. And so, like I said, lethal means could be really anything. Pills, it could be illicit drugs. Someone who is using and has an addiction may use illicit drugs to take their own life. And so having someone be mindful of whether they're in a relapse mode is important. That's really reducing access to lethal means in that moment. But I'm going to tell you that far more, we're concerned more about firearms. And I'll tell you because, and I'm looking at the statistics here, when it comes to our veterans, 41% of female veterans that die by suicide use firearms. 68% of male veterans who die by suicide use firearms. And so the reality, and this is from data that was collected in 2016, we know since COVID and since 2020 that firearm purchases went up 41%. So we know that there's more access to lethal means in the homes of our veterans and others. And so it increases the risk. So we have to talk about it. And it's not just handguns. We have to talk about long guns as well, rifles, where most people don't think about rifles being used in a suicide attempt, but they're often used in a suicide attempt. One of the things our VA does is we give out free gun locks. So If you are a veteran or you're a family member of a veteran and your loved one receives their care at our VA, you can get a free gun lock to use at home for a firearm that you have in order to keep it safe. I don't have one here. I wish I did, but it's a cable lock and actually has uh, a key, two keys that come with it. And basically you put it through the barrel of the weapon, and then you're able to secure it so that ammunition can't be put in, as well as that it doesn't even close. And so that's a way to keep, people safe, because that firearm cannot be used. And
Can you get more than one gun lock? Can families take a handful? Because I know families who have guns often have more than one gun.
absolutely, I've started saying to our veterans, how many gun locks do you need? And I've had a veteran say, I need 20. And I said, well, here's a whole box. They're 25 in a box. I said, share 5 of the additional ones with other buddies that you know that have them. We don't want anyone to feel any kind of way about asking for the amount of gun locks that they need, because we know that that keeps people safe. Our VA has given out a total of, I think it's 11,000 gun locks this year. And we also have partnered with Howard County in particular, and we're actually moving to partner with other counties. But we partnered with their public libraries to have a storage of free gun locks available to anyone that comes in and asks for it. You only have to submit your zip code where you live, and you answer the question of if you're a veteran or not. So it really is for anyone, because we don't want anyone to be ashamed or afraid to ask for it. It really is an issue of, and I try to explain this to our veterans, it's their choice to own a firearm. That's their right to decide that for themselves. But we really talk about safety in a couple of ways. We talk about safety for children and others in their home that may be struggling with depression or other mental health issues or substance abuse, but also protection for themselves that may have risk for suicide themselves. And so we just want to make sure, and also too, for someone that may own a firearm, you don't want that to be in the hands of someone else. Maybe someone breaks into your home and steals your weapon. If it's secure, there's nothing they can do with it. And so we talk about safety from all of those perspectives, but the main goal is to make sure that we're keeping people safe.
So is there a safety plan that families can put into practice? Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and how a family can come to a safety plan for someone in their, for their beloved veteran or anyone else who might be contemplating suicide?
So yes, we actually two VA employees and researchers developed a suicide safety plan. It's called the Stanley Brown Safety Plan. You can Google it. We'll also drop it into on our Facebook page, so you'll have a blank copy so that anyone can actually work on it. And basically what it is a plan of action when a crisis arises. It is a hierarchy plan of things that you can do in order to keep yourself safe. It starts with things you can do on your own. So individually, someone can listen to the radio, they can read a book, they could take a walk. These are things that help them build coping strategies. If those don't work, the next level is what kind of things can they do in the community or with friends that be a distraction for their suicidal thoughts or their thoughts of crisis. And so that could be going to a meeting, going to church, calling a good friend. You don't have to talk about the suicide risk, but just being away from isolation, being out in the community, engaging in society is a way of actually dealing with it. So those two levels help you build a really good toolbox of coping strategies. The next level says, okay, those two things didn't work. Those two sections were not helpful in reducing the risk. Now I want to know Who can I call? These are people that you know are there for you and that can support you in a crisis. They know what you go through sometimes, so that you can be real with them. You'll have their names and their numbers, and you can give them a call and say, hey, today's a bad day. Can you talk? And I always say, have a have a password. Say, like, do you have 2 minutes? That's the clue for them to know that you're in trouble and you need someone to talk to. And that as part of their the safety plan, their loved ones or friends or all their supports on that list should know, when you call and you say that means it's a critical time and you need their help and support.
Okay, so we
Excuse
have
me.
removing lethal means by having a pill box that has only a day supply of pills if they're like having some medical issue that has a lot of pain. Removing the car keys temporarily if they are thinking about killing themselves by automobile. I didn't even think about that as a means of suicide. Um, the other thing is the gun locks, and the other thing is who to call. And I actually put the suicide safety plan, the Stanley, the Stanley Brown safety plan. I put a PDF link in the comments. Are we
Excellent.
missing anything?
Well, as part of that safety plan, the next two really important ones are: when the crisis is imminent, who can you call? And it's just important for folks to know, whether you're a veteran or non-veteran, now we can access mental health support by dialing 988. Just like 911 for medical emergencies, 988 is for mental health emergencies. And also, in advance, check out in your county or in your local jurisdiction, do you have a mobile crisis? Because a mobile crisis team is mental health professionals that can come out and meet you at your home. Some of our veterans would not feel comfortable with the police officers coming to their door to help them in a mental health crisis. And so in those cases and with those veterans, it might be more important to actually access mobile crisis teams. And so as a family member and someone helping a loved one through a crisis, check and see what mobile crisis teams are available in your area, and have that number on your refrigerator so that you can utilize it when you need to. But we know that the Veterans Crisis Line is available. Again, pressing 988 and then pressing 1 for our veterans takes them right to our Veterans Crisis Line. And they can provide imminent support for someone that's struggling. The reality is that no one really wants to die by suicide. They just want the pain to stop. And so if we can be there for someone in that moment that they're struggling, if we can limit their access to lethal means, we can really, really make a difference and save a life.
All right. Well, I think we covered everything, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us today. If anybody has any, if someone is in crisis, please, if you're not the person in crisis, you can also call 988 to get help. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
And family members, take action if you need to. Is there anything else you want to say, Nicole?
I was just going to add that our Perry Point VA is hosting our 3rd annual Suicide Prevention Walk next Wednesday, which is actually World Suicide Prevention Day. And we just want, to get the word out. We are going to probably have a few Facebook Live videos to show you the great time that we're having if you can't make it. But we also want you to come out, get some information, walk to show awareness for those that are really struggling, and really recognizing those that have lost the battle with their depression and suicide. And so we just hope to see you there all month long, Suicide Prevention Month. Put on your Facebook, your posts, and just let people know that suicide is real and that help is available. That could be something that someone who's struggling sees, and that could encourage them to get help for themselves.
Thank you so much for Nicole, and thank you for those who are watching. We appreciate your tuning in. And please, you'll be able to share this video off of YouTube or Facebook. So please share it with anybody who you think would benefit from this information. And remember, there are steps you can take, a suicide plan you can put into action to save a life. Thank you so much. This is September is suicide prevention awareness. Thank you all for joining in. Bye-bye.